and welcome back to another lesson. In the last lesson, we talked about things that should be very things that should be noted when working with JavaScript date, such as how overflow can happen when passing in data or parameters to your date object, and we were able to see examples of how this can happen when you passed a day beyond the marks and when you passed a month beyond the marks. It doesn't throw error in JavaScript when working with date, but it instead adds them as an overflow, to match the current the after year or the after month, as we were able to see in that examples. So in this particular lesson, we are still going to take it a little step further and talk about when you passed in 2 digits as parameters to your date object. And that is what sorry for that. And that is what I'm going to be, talking about in this particular lesson. So when you notice how we've been passing in dates in the past, you will notice that we've been passing in 4 digits for year, either 2020, 2018, or 2019. So that is what we've been dealing with in the past ways that we've been working with this date object. So in this particular lesson, when you passed in 2 digits as year, we want to take a look at how this will be interpreted by JavaScript. We are going to see an example of how this works when dealing or when working with date object in JavaScript, because JavaScript store date as number in milliseconds since January 1st, 1970. So date counting starts from this in JavaScript, as you will see with some of the example. And that 0 time in January 1st, 1970 is this UTC 000, which represents the milliseconds. So 1 day, 24 hours, which is equivalent to 1 day, is equivalent to 86 1,400,000 milliseconds. So all these things that you are seeing that we've been working with that shows date and the time zone or geographical zone, all these things are being interpreted in milliseconds by JavaScript. So JavaScript understands how to convert them to milliseconds to give you the equivalent or exact readable output that you can, interpret as we have been seeing in the previous example. So now you can see what this interprets to in milliseconds past January 1, 1970. So in order not to confuse us with this theory, let's quickly take a look at an example of what this looks like in JavaScript. So let's say I have a date object like this, and then pass in 2 digits as year. Now let's see what this will look like in our output. Now if you take a look at this, now you can see that right here, what you are seeing is that these 2 digits is being added to the initial prefix of 19 that has been added to our date object, which means that if I change this from 89 and do 79, it's going to change it to 1979, which means that the 2 digits that is being passed in is what is going to be added to this previous century of the default 2 digits that has been added, and so it will now be interpreted as 90 something something, 90 something something. So which means that whatever I pass here from 1900 to 999, which is 2 digits, so it will be interpreted as 2 digits, as you can see. And like I said, that JavaScript store date as milliseconds. So we can see how it store it. What 1 day is equivalent to when it is converted into milliseconds. So I also want to output, if we passed in milliseconds directly here to see what this means in JavaScript. So milliseconds. Now, is it giving us anything? But you can see the equivalent of it, even though it's not giving us anything. So you can see what this translates to for a particular times or a particular new date object that is created plus zero time. So this is how you can use date objects in order to get static date for a particular period, whether current or for a particular time in the past or in the present. And don't forget that the way we got this particular part, which says that one day 24 hours 86,400,000 milliseconds is just a simple mathematics by whereby you have something like this and say, okay, number of day asterisk, hour, an hour is 60 seconds, right? An hour is and a minute is 60 seconds, and by this, what do they call it? I think this represents hour, this represents minute, this represents second multiplied by 1000. So this is how we come about one day is equivalent to 86,400,000 milliseconds. So when you pass in two digits, it is treated as it is interpreted or treated as date in the 1990s, like we were able to see when we passed in two digits. So if we pass from 00 to 999, it will be interpreted as date in the 90s when we passed in two digits. But you have control over date when we passed in the usual four digits that we have been using in the previous example, like maybe 2020 or 2029 or 2015 or whatever it is, as you can see. So when you have this, then it changes the format and the output of what you are getting from date in the 90s into the present or into the 20th century date object. So this is where we'll end this lesson. Thank you. I'll see you in the next one as we take a look at another aspect of date objects in Java.